Hello, everyone. What if the key to unlocking your richest life wasn't about doing more, but becoming more of who you already are? Welcome to Seizing Your Greatness. I'm Julianne Meyer, and today's guest is a force of energy, of heart, and of transformation. Angèle Lamothe is a high vibrational leader on a mission to raise the consciousness of our planet one heart at a time. She's also a triathlete, an empowerment coach, an incredible author, and of course, a mother of three who helps high performing leaders shift out of overwhelm and into alignment. After 22 years of working in acute care, she became obsessed with what truly heals us and how intuition, purpose, and action can create miracles. Now she lives a joy-filled, high-performance life and teaches others to do the same by reconnecting to their inner wisdom, building sustainable strategies, and stepping into abundance with gratitude. Angèle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Julianne. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here co-creating with you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I've been so excited to have you on the show. For those that are watching, a mutual friend introduced us, and I felt so blessed that he did, because when you and I spoke, I just thought, oh my goodness, this woman, I want to be her when I grow up. So
Well, the feelings were mutual.
you are truly a remarkable woman. And I know I said a lot of things about things that you've done and created and become, but it's only such a tiny little snapshot of who you truly are as a human. And I would love to start out by asking you a question. What is something about you that people can't find on the internet? What is something, either a fact or just anything that you want to share?
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I donated a kidney to my dad 15 years ago, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I usually say that my dad received a kidney 15 years ago, and I don't acknowledge that I was the giver, because it was just an unconditional love and testament of my love for him and my gratitude for everything. And so that's one fact that it's factual, but it is.
And it's not something people can find. I love that, because and I love that you don't lead with that. You didn't do it to say you did it. You did it to help,
No.
and I find that truly remarkable. I think it comes back to just doing what is the right step for you. And I think, because I was interviewing somebody the other day, and she's kind of a barrier breaker as far as for women in different industries and people of color. And the thing that I found so fascinating about her was it was just kind of like, yeah, there was no other option. That was just the only road she saw.
Precisely.
Yeah. So I'm curious, you, like I said, well, you're a TEDx speaker. You've done so many remarkable things. What is your favorite way to let people know about the magic inside of them?
Oh, I love that question. And the first thing that I tell my kids, that I teach my kids, that I teach myself, is being it. And so words are words. We can read all the books, and I love all the knowledge, of course, and everything that's available. And I want everyone to read our books, of course. But being that change and being that person, being love, being generosity, being compassion, being all of those things, and really showing them that that's what creates magic. And so I guess to answer your question is really being what you are expecting of others, but not just in the doing, not just in results, but really that personality, that inner being that we are projecting to the world and attracting back by being all those things.
Being is probably one of my all-time favorite words, because to me it is the most action thing that you can do. Is, who are you being in that moment, and how are you showing up, not only for yourself but for other people as well. And I like this, instead of talking about it, actually being it. That is a truly powerful concept that I think that a lot of people maybe don't quite understand. How do you go from, and this is probably, I don't even know what the answer is. Maybe you do, maybe you don't have the answer to this. Most people think, okay, for example, we set a goal. Let's say doing the triathlon, for example, because I tried to do one, and I know that you've done it. And I could do all these different steps, but how do I be the triathlete?
I love that. And so, like any goals that we set, whether it's like a physical, tangible, in 5 months, I'm going to do my race,
Mhm.
versus any goal that we set in life. I want more joy and more happiness with my partner, for example. So those are very different types of goals, right? We're very tangible. We have this many runs a week, this many bike rides, versus an open ended, not open ended, but a more general, it seems, emotional goal of being more loving, more generous, creating more joy with my partner. And so I break it down in 4 bodies. And so we're physical bodies, we're emotional bodies, we're intellectual bodies, and we're spiritual bodies. And so
Mhm.
leave it simple, of course, if we're talking back to the triathlete goal, the physical goal is, yes, doing the training, the actual training. And then when we think about nutrition, when we think about sleeping, when we think of all of the other side goals that really support our physical goal. And then there's the emotional piece where, for example, as a triathlete, we're always talking to ourselves, oh, I could be better, I could be faster, I could. And that's for triathletes, for a mom, for a partner, for anything. And so really having grace for ourselves, but understanding that inner dialogue.
Mhm.
What thoughts are we saying, what all of those habits. And then we have the spiritual piece that I teach my clients. So those 4 bodies, that spiritual piece is really comes down to, I love the intro to your show because it comes down to becoming who you really are already. So that power being inside of you, not outside, not someone owning it, not, you know what I'm saying. And so that piece, really tapping into all those bodies for max performance. And so, for example, mindful meditation, being grateful that you are able to race when those thoughts come up. When we're going back to the emotional piece, really finding that balance where, and so, yeah, I guess to break it down, really I break it down in 4 bodies, and to maximize the outcome in all our goals, we can tap into all those bodies, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me because it's not a one prong approach. It's, I think too, it becomes one of those things where I'm just going to use the physical goal because it's a
Yeah,
little more tangible for people's minds. But,
absolutely.
there's the physical aspect of training, of nutrition, of rest, of, taking care of our bodies. And then, like you said before, there's also up here, what are you going to do when your brain tells you you can't go on any further, but you actually can? Or what do you do when your brain tells you you're not good at this? You can all those can'ts and the resistance that pops up. And that is true for everything that we do, whether or not it's physical, including our relationships. In my opinion, it's the looking at the negative versus what's really going well, and focusing on those things. And I think that it's just a matter of being more aware. But something you said that I really really want to like have you tap into a little more is this idea of being who you are. I really, to me, it bothers me when people think that they are broken or they need to be fixed and that there's something wrong. And I just think we're all perfectly imperfect, and
Mm.
we can, and I just wanted you to talk a little bit more about maybe leaning into accepting and loving all the bits and pieces, because that's how we got where we are and who we are.
I love that question. Thank you. Yes. So coming back to who you are, coming back to source, coming back to, some people say universe, some people use whatever you relate to, God source, energy source, coming back to that true power, your soul, some people refer to it as soul. You were born with that energy, that power, and it's always inside of you. And as you know, I'm not going to go back on paradigms and how we're raised, but those that light is somehow can somehow be dimmed, and so that's where, pleasing, some lots of paradigms come into play here. And so when you're aware of that, when you're aware of that shift, when you're aware that you are that power and that no one else, nothing else, no goals, nothing in the world can actually take that away from you, but understanding, and I'm gonna reflect back what you said. You said something about, having that mindset, that shift, knowing that you can. And so it really comes down to that understanding, breaking down the barriers, breaking down it's multi-layered, and it's complex, but it's in simple. What society expects from us, our families, what we expect from us, what we're told. There are so many things at play here. And when we can truly be imperfect the way that we are and come back to that power, that true abundance, and really that inner strength that no one, and no matter what circumstance you go through, no matter what hardship, no matter what happens to you, you always have that control, and it is not something outside of you. And yeah, it is something to tap in, and that's where the magic happens in my experience. That's where you can truly be in all ways, in all bodies, in all dimensions, I'll say, in all parts of your life, thriving and excelling and really being everything that you wish to be.
And I like this idea too of breaking down the thought that you can't have everything because or you can't be happy in everything. I think that that is an unhealthy idea that is passed around because
Mm.
it's so common. It doesn't mean that it's accurate. It's just common. There's a huge difference between it being normal and common. It's kind of like when women having cramps. We shouldn't. It's very common, but it's not actually normal. And so it's to me, it's the same idea. And I love this idea of that you have taken, I don't know, your power back. I mean, not that it was necessarily anywhere else, but you recognize it in yourself,
Mm.
and that you are helping other people do the same. And I'm just curious too, because I know that you're a prolific writer, and can you tell us a little bit about like what inspires you to write? What is are you approached about a particular topic, or is it something that just comes through you that you have to talk about? I'm just curious, as an artist myself, what drives you?
What drives me is my bigger mission of spreading love and gratitude and really being that universal source where everyone gets to be happy and live their best life. That really drives me. It drives me as a mom. It drives me everywhere. And so sharing from that place, sharing from that power, but also mostly sharing from my experiences. And so not pretending that life is easy, not pretending that everything is perfect. That's one of the old paradigms that I've learned to shed. I'll say shed, to come back to my inner power, because that is something that I own and no one can take that away from me. And so to come back to your question, it really often is following my own intuition, following my own, is quieting my mind and tapping into what I want to share, and trusting that everything that I'm sharing, someone needs to hear. And so I used to write from a space, I'm diverging a little bit, used to write more from ego, like what would someone want to hear, and more from facts. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I
Mhm.
but it was hard. It was much harder versus sitting down and trusting. Like over the years, my writing, the amount of time that I would spend writing, modifying, did I say it right? Am I going to offend anyone? Everything that we do in real life. Oh my goodness. Trusting that, hey, I know this, and whatever is meant to be written is perfect. And so taking literally a quarter of the time and even my best work, if that makes so that's less work, more powerful, but that can
Mhm.
apply to every single area of your life. So I kind of answer your question.
Well, you did, but you brought up something that I think is truly, it goes back to high performance because it doesn't mean more work equals better. More effort doesn't equal a better result all the time. It's not necessary. It's not, it's not this thing where it has to be even like that. And I think you really touched on the instead of going from this space and working more from here and
Yeah.
soul, then it's more natural. So you actually are not working as hard because you're not worried about how's this going to appear.
Absolutely. And that is true for every single goal that you work on, no matter where in your life, no matter how tangible. And, coming from a masculine, patriarchal, high performing world. I mean, as a triathlete, I work at the hospital.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm, work with high performing individuals. Being one of those myself, like you can burn out so quickly by wanting to please everyone and be perfect and do. And when you recognize that there are times where you get to use your mind and your intellectual abilities, of course, but the universe always gives you what you can handle and what's required. And so the right people come your way. But how many times have you, like, you're so busy working that you're not in tune with that and you go I'll say the wrong way, but in life, like you work so much harder when in the end you're like, wow, it can be easy. There's also you talked about paradigms
Mhm.
do have, and you spoke into that earlier, we do have this mindset where you work harder, you get more results, and that's how life works. Not always, because
No.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never believed in the hustle culture, the grind culture. To me, it's like, I've lost so many people that were very young when they passed, and I was young too. I'm not even 50 yet. So, and I've lost more significant people in my life than my 80-year-old father. So, my point though of that is that I don't want to get to the end of my life and think, wow, I'm so glad I worked really hard. I was so busy working that I wasn't paying attention to actually being alive.
Mhm.
And I think that what you do is help people really be where they are
Mhm.
and enjoy their life as they're living it. Because I think a lot of people are so busy doing and being and mentally in the future or the past that they don't even really appreciate. I'm guilty of this too, so this is not a judgment. But really appreciate life that's actually happening in this moment. And I'm curious too, because, I think that as a high performance coach and human,
Mm.
people think that you are probably so busy doing all of the time. But what is, how do you, because I know you mentioned to me earlier privately about meditation, how do you come back to the present moment and really appreciate life as you're living it?
I love that question because because I live it, because I have been on the other end as well. And there's no wrong, there's no right, but part of that beauty is accepting where you're at and being grateful for that contrast, being grateful for the opportunities to change and to shift. And so I'll speak about myself, but then I'll loop in my clients who usually tell me, but what, you're telling me to do less? I know, but I want more happiness, but I want more, and so I'll speak into that in a few moments. But that non-negotiable time with myself, and you can decide what that looks like for you. Meditation works for me, and as a high performing person who was not tuned into her intuition, I spent 7 months, and this is no exaggeration, 7 months, same time every morning in the same spot for a period of time, almost giving up on meditation because I thought, this is not for me. This is not working. I'm doing my grocery list, but that's part of the consistency, understanding. And then all of a sudden recognizing that there are huge impacts. And it doesn't just have to be meditation. It can be 5 minutes, but any mindfulness activity, anything that brings you out of that present moment and into your emotional, anything that takes
You.
you present moment and brings you joy, happiness, love, anything that you love brings you back in that moment. And so when you have that reserve, when you do take that time, you are more patient, your answers come easily, you are kinder, more compassionate. And I'm not saying that I'm always like that, but part of the key is understanding your limit and how, not
Mhm.
limit, but understanding what it takes for you to fill that cup and what fills it, overflows it, so that you can be generosity and attract that back to you, because you attract what you are, right? And so if you're impatient on the highway, guess what? You're going to attract a slow driver, an accident, name it.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. It was funny. This is so funny because when I don't know what it is, and I haven't quite figured out how to make, well, I'm better at this now, but I have this thing where people tend to like to be in the same space as me at the same time, whether it's a car or a person. Like people that are walking and they walk into me, and I know I'm the reason. But now I just laugh at it. And my husband's like, oh, there you go again.
I love
Oh,
that.
I love that so much. Um, we are running a little low on time already. I could talk to you forever because I just think that you are so fun and there's a calmness about you, but also it's just you feel good and it comes through the screen. So I know that other people feel that as well. Um, but I want to give some space for this question, and that is, what is something that you wish that maybe I would have asked you? Anything.
Yeah. Trusting that what you are, and so trusting that everything that happens to you, whether it's bad,
Mhm.
a tragedy, a beautiful thing, a contrast, a even your, being fired, for example. So those hardships are really, so that's not my question, but I guess working around like how you attract everything in your field, how you are it as a person, as a being, as a individual, it comes back to you. And so
Mhm.
how can you turn that into an opportunity? How can you turn that into magic? How can you turn that into abundance?
Mhm. I love that. I really do love that. And two, it's kind of like if you take the idea of life is happening for you, you might not like it, but it doesn't mean that it's not good. Or, that's just a judgment too. So,
100%.
who knows? It could be setting you up for the next best thing and it's way better than anything.
Always. It
And
always
that's, there's something I always say because I've gone through a few different hardships recently, but it all is in divine order. And for me, that just, okay, I kind of can relax into that, even though I don't particularly like it, doesn't mean that it isn't actually, what should be happening at that particular moment. We talked a little bit about your books. And also your TED Talk. I mentioned that one as well. Where can people find your books? All the things online. I know I put up your website. I know that there's links on there, but also can they find your books on Amazon?
Absolutely. So links to those books are on my website. But if you go on Amazon, you can also find them.
Perfect.
Yeah, everything's on my website, my TEDx talk, what courses that are coming up. And so, yeah, reach out anyway. There's also, my social links on there,
Mhm.
an email, always open to abundance for for anything that might serve.
I love that too, abundance, because it doesn't always mean cash. It really truly is. What does that mean for you? For me, abundance is freedom. And so Yeah, no, I love that. And for those that are watching, I've watched your TED Talk probably 3 times now, and it's worth every moment of my life. So please reach out to Angèle because she is truly a remarkable woman. And we are basically out of time. I can't believe we ran out already. I was just getting going.
Likewise, I could speak for lifetimes, and thank you so much for having me. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure. We'll have to have you back for sure. And for those that are watching, thank you for being here. We will be back again next week. And until then, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone. Bye for now.